Ashley, let's just start with this. What is it about the holidays that causes so much conflict, especially when it's like you see everywhere on Hallmark, it's the most wonderful time of the year, yet conflict seems to happen so often. Why is that?
That those shows are all lies, first of all.
There's a lot of
Like,
truth to
you
that.
know, Hallmark and all their like they just want to sell you stuff. They think if you watch that you'll go to their store and buy things. But I think the biggest issues is expectations going into the holidays and partly due to Hallmark, social media, seeing people's vacations and holiday pictures and how people have their place settings and the idea of I don't even know if this is a real term, but I call it like the white knight idea when you have a lot of stress or maybe not the best childhood, or you're not having the best experience being single or with a husband you just divorced. And so you have this like white knight syndrome kind of thing where you think, if I just get this, if I just get this family, this experience, it's going to make everything better. And so I know that's something I experienced. Like we all have a little bit of dysfunction in our home, some of us more, some of us less. And so my childhood family of origin did not really do holidays like together as a family. It was really hodgepodge and the kids ran a lot of it. And so I always had this expectation that I would marry into this family that knew how to do it right. And those expectations obviously were not met. They did it differently. But I didn't get this sense of like, oh, this is how you do it. It ended up, I guess, revealing um, areas where I disagreed with them. Like, okay, this is my dysfunction over here, but at least I'm comfortable with my dysfunction and I know how to operate in it. And now I have this new dysfunction to enter into. And so I think that's a big thing. It's the same we see when people enter into marriage and they think their sex life is going to be one way or another. The same thing for holidays, that we have this expectation, and then when it's not met, it's really disappointing. And sometimes we end up finding others to blame for that if we're not aware enough going into it.
Yeah, if you think about those Hallmark movies, they actually do all involve conflict. I mean, it's so predictable. You just know, like, the whole movie is building to something that's going to get unearthed. There's going to be a blow up, but there's always resolution. And I think that's maybe a part of what we're talking about here, is that so many of us have had a lot of holiday conflict. Things built up, they finally bubbled over. There was some kind of argument or explosion or harsh words said, but there wasn't resolution. There wasn't that opportunity where people could come back together, own their stuff. I mean, it's what honestly I think gives a lot of us those warm, fuzzy feelings in watching that movie. And even though I know the storyline is so predictable and it happens in 100 different movies, there's something about they figured it out. They came back together. They found a way to see eye to eye. They got through their stuff. And now they're kissing in the snow and living happily ever after. and I think part of us wants that. But unless we are intentional about how we approach conflict, unless we're intentional about how we attempt to resolve it, it is likely just going to become a recurring pattern. And so I think back to the original question of like, why the holidays? Why now? Why during this Christmas season? To me, the biggest thing that stands out is just that we're out of our routines. When we're in our weekly routine, our work rhythms, our family rhythms, we've kind of found where does the points of tension come up. We've probably worked through the years at how to address it better, or at a minimum, how to sustain and get through those tough parts of our week. But holidays just throw so many unique things, from family trips to family pictures to gift buying, gift opening, travel, vacation time, staying at other people's houses, sleeping in a relative's bed that has bad back support. And now you're grumpy. Just all those things that maybe we're not able to anticipate very well. And so it can catch us off guard. And when we're not in a healthy state of mind or in a place where we feel maybe secure or comfortable, conflict is just more likely to happen. And so I think if we're aware of that, like, hey, I'm out of my routine, things are different, conflict's probably going to happen, then rather than being panicky about it or feeling like, oh no, Christmas is ruined because we're having some conflict, you can have this acceptance, back to your idea, Ashley, about expectations of, hey, I kind of expected there was going to be some conflict and we're going to deal with it, and we can still make the best of it and have a really great Christmas season.
Yeah, and I think it does tie to our last conversation too about being assertive, that people don't tend to be assertive. And when they're not, then things come out sideways when expectations aren't met or frustrations are had or there's a misunderstanding. And I I don't know if this is true, but in my observation, the holidays tend to be like everyone is passive aggressive, level 10. It's like all of these side comments and half truths that we're telling. And I think that that's why conflict can be